Hello, Real Love Ready community, and welcome to today's IG Live, Ask the Experts. I'm very excited to welcome our guest, Dr. Sara Nasserzadeh. Dr. Sara wrote this book, which we just talked about on the podcast. It's going to be coming out in a few weeks. It's called Love by Design, 6 Ingredients to Build a Lifetime of Love. And it is an absolutely excellent book. Dr. Sara is a globally renowned author, speaker, and thinking partner with a PhD in social psychology. She specializes in the fields of human sexuality and relationships. And she has worked around the world with thousands of individuals, couples, and organizational clients to enhance relational health. And I just can't say enough about Dr. Sara and her book. And I'm just excited to have her for the next 29 minutes with us. So if you are with us during today's IG Live, please ask your questions, your relationship questions, whether you're in a relationship or you're wanting one, or want to talk about your relationships with your children, at work. Dr. Sara is here to help, okay? I'm going to ask her to join. There you are. Hi, Dr. Sara.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for joining us on today's IG Live.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
For those of you that are with us, can you please tell us where you're from and ask your relationship questions of Dr. Sara, because this is our time with this beautiful expert. Okay, let's do this. So we were submitted some excellent questions. So we're just going to dive in. And if there are live ones, I'll ask those as well. Are we ready?
Let's go.
Okay. Okay, so I would like, this is a heavy one, but let's just dive right in. How do you rebuild trust with my partner? How do I rebuild trust with my partner after a conflict or misunderstanding?
Okay, so first let's break trust into two very important components. One is consistency, one is reliability. So whatever that you're doing, many people go and say sorry or even momentary mend, right? But then the same thing happens or variation of it happens. Or with other behaviors, they're not supporting the main behavior that they are trying to manifest. So it's extremely important, first of all, to see which parts of your trust was broken, because when we say trust, we usually talk about who cheated on whom and who slept with whom. But it's really beyond that. What is that trust that we're talking about? So that's one. What is the trust? Is it financial? Is it social? Is it intimate? Is it physical? What is it that was broken? So, and through consistency and reliability of actions, we can rebuild it. But it's also important that to talk about it. So there's a tool that I give to people. I call it ARM. So first, acknowledge what happened. This thing happened, impacted me this way, this impacted you that way, and appreciate the intensity of it and the impact that it had on each of you. And then so A. The third one is arm. In the arm is R, right? So with the R, you are going to join the person and reassure them. Say that we're going to get through this together. Stay with me. We're going to work through this together, right? I love you, or whatever that the language is, language of joining. And last but not least is the M, mending part. Mending could be, can we talk about it now? Can we park it to come back to it on Sunday? Maybe we go for a walk at 10 o'clock. So that mending needs to be very specific. And then hopefully little by little, you can build it. But it is true that trust builds over time and it can be shattered like that in one incidence. So I hope it gives people an idea.
Yes, I really like that. And you do say in your book that one of the greatest breaches of trust is if you are in conflict or you want to mend, and one partner says, "Let's talk about this later," and later never comes.
Yes,
it's just swept under the rug. Well, right there, you're showing me you don't give a crap, right?
Yes, exactly. So look, a lot of people also go as far as they say, let's talk later, especially if they're not in a mind space or the capacity to talk about it. But my a suggestion for people is that have a very specific time, very specific time. If you are the person who is asking for a space or you're postponing something in the couple, then it could be sex, it could be talking about something, it could be anything really, right? Make sure that you are also the person who comes back to it, not the other person keeps chasing you and you just keep doing this. Right?
Exactly.
So over a period of time, it's not going to go well. So you need to really have a specific time. If not now, you know what? I'm very busy. My mind is somewhere else. It's really important to me that we talk about it. Can we please just talk about this over tea, maybe after dinner tonight? Would that
Right.
work for you? And that's a little by little, you learn that to close the loop, not just push the person away and kind of escape the situation.
Exactly. This one is, I tend to end up in harmful relationships. I feel fear when thinking about trying to date again. Could it be that I still don't trust myself? Mm.
It could be. It could be. Look, one of the things that I hear from people is I know when my gut says this person is right or wrong. But then my question to you is your gut polished enough that you can trust it? Right?
Mm.
And the gut is what? The system that tells us whether we're safe or not. So in different situations, right? So to do that, I'm so sorry, first of all, that you feel like you're not trusting yourself because that's step one in doing anything in life, making any decisions in life. So that's a tough place to
Mm.
be. But to remedy that a little bit for you, it will be a good idea for you just to sit with yourself and see what you learned through previous experiences. Also, it will be a good idea for you to think about all of these 6 ingredients that I have in the book, like trust, vision for a relationship, loving relationship, respect, compassion, loving behavior, all of that, and see what are the blueprints that you're coming from. Because sometimes when I hear from people that repeating the old patterns, there are two things that might be at play. One is the things that I didn't grow up with, didn't see, but I really want them in my life. So I chase them all the time
Mm.
without being prepared to receive them or to show up for them. That's one, right?
Mhm.
The second one is I grew up with something that I didn't like it, whether in my relationships or previous relationships or whatnot, or I grew up around it, and I'm running away from it so fast that I fall on the other side of the cliff.
Mhm.
So these are the things that we need to know about ourselves. Let's say, for example, I have the most common one is this. People grew up in really melodramatic um, family situation.
Mhm.
They didn't know what kind of a parent they would get. 1 minute loving, 1 minute shouting, like a really like a roller coaster kind of a parent. So these people really would like some place that they can call
Mm.
home, like a steady, tranquil home, right?
Mhm.
But when they are in it, guess what? He's boring
Mm.
because
Right.
that's not my default. That's not what I'm used to. So it would be really important for us to know as what is it that is going to driving us towards a relationship or repel us. And then when we figure that out, we will be more intentional about the steps that we take in a relationship. So I hope this answer helped you, whoever that sent that question.
Yes, and in the beginning chapters of your book, Love by Design, you actually give a lot of tools and ways that we can get to know ourselves better, and how we look at relationships, as well as, like you said,
Mhm.
discovering your relationship blueprint. So that's there's a lot for people that are even not in relationship in your book.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes. Especially chapter 3 is about knowing yourself, your pet peeves, your quirks, your sensitivities, all of that. And these are very important before you enter any relationship, or even if you are in a relationship right now, at least you will have more informed conversations with your partner. You're not just talking about your maladies and, like um, pains that you have or from one another.
Yeah. You differentiate about with we talked about this in the podcast around compassion and empathy.
Mhm.
Okay. Can you collaborate on that and say why you don't recommend empathy for couples in everyday interactions?
Absolutely. So empathy means feeling with the person. Compassion means feeling for the person, the way that I define
Yeah,
them, right?
yeah.
So feeling with the person has a place and time. So you can really be indifferent. to the partner that you're caring about and you live with. I get that. But on a daily basis, if you operate from a place of empathy, you will make their pain your pain, their anger your anger, whatever that is happening with them, your thing, right? So it becomes about you. You can't really show up for them, can you? So compassion is showing up for the other person without making it about you. If you can do that, you are ahead of 90% of couples out there.
Yes.
That.
So, so can you give us an example of like a couple's that you're seeing in a day to day? There's way too much empathy going on and not enough compassion.
Yes, exactly. Let's say, for example, somebody comes and says that, like, I'm really mad. I'm mad at my boss.
Yeah.
Right? My boss really treated me badly. So what that person wants, first of all, they can say that, hey, I could be helped with this. But in those situations, usually we don't think of framing it that way and invite the help that we want. So as a partner, I have so many different options. One is, let me tell you about the time that I had issues with my boss, and I steal the whole thing, over relating, right?
Mm.
The other thing is, oh, you poor person. So being condescending, sympathy, right? That I
Yeah.
have no problem with my boss. I know how to handle people. No, 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 right? The empathy becomes like, I become so angry for you that you have to now show up for me to rescue me from my anger about your boss.
Yeah. These things happen, right? Yeah.
Oh my God, more than you know, right?
Mhm.
Compassion is, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So that might suck, really, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Tell
what
me
is,
about it.
yeah, tell me about it. What is happening with you? How can I support you? Do you need a hug? Do you need to talk this through? Do you want a dump? What's going to help? Right? So I'm there for you. And mind you, you need to also have a good understanding of your capacity. You can't always show up. When you don't have the capacity and you show up, you're already full. Maybe you had a really bad day with your boss too that day.
Mhm.
And then you show up out of empathy for the other person and say, yeah, 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 sure. Did you have a hard day? Come and bring it on. Well, I don't have the capacity. Then I will overload and I will push you in a way that it actually goes to bridge the trust between the couple. So it's really important to know what you're offering in those spaces of empathy and compassion as well. But there is one area in the lives of a couple that I highly recommend empathy, which is the physical connection and sex. Erotic empathy is a good thing.
Yeah.
So
And we talked about this in the podcast, Dr. Sara, where um, let's say you're going through something together. You are sharing in that experience. Like if somebody in your family dies
yeah.
and you're hurting with that person, right?
Yes.
It's not my dad that died, but I mean I love you, and this is very painful, and
Yeah.
I'm here for you. So empathy has its place, but like you're what you're saying is like in a relationship, everyday empathy. That's not a recipe for loving behavior, right?
No, absolutely not. Because what you're
Yeah.
talking about, the empathy in those situations is, the commiseration. Sometimes we had a very hard day with our toddler. Sometimes, we're dealing with a disabled child. Sometimes we're dealing with whatever that is happening, tornado that is happening now in the country, in the US. So there are certain things that happen to the two of us and affect the two of us in the couple. Then we can commiserate with each other, cry together, hold each other, don't even talk, like sit back to back, breathe together. That goes a long way, right? But in everyday interaction, bad idea.
Right, right. How can we support each other's individual growth while still nurturing our relationship?
That's very good. First and foremost, I would love for you to have this idea of, please park this idea of 1 + 1 = 1, because then there is no way in hell that you can support yourself, the other person, the relationship, everything involved, right?
Mm.
But if you think of it this way, that 1 + 1 = 3, then you will see the other person as an individual, and you will see yourself as an individual and the relationship as the third entity, right? Third entity meaning children, any third party, in-laws, anything else goes into that third bucket. That is a joint bucket, right? So the two of you are going to manage your own resources to be able to know and assess what goes into that in every phase of your life and every day, really. Do you have enough to give to that third bucket or not, right? So first and foremost, to answer your question, is making sure that that frame is in place so that you see each other as individuals. However, I have to also warn people of something. One thing that is very trendy these days, we talk a lot about narcissism and narcissistic injuries and whatnot. So different people, different experts have different definitions. But I would like to use a term with my clients that I call acquired narcissism. Look, to be able to focus on your own growth, on your own self-love and compassion, it doesn't mean that you need to shut the other person out. That is not required. If you know how to have your boundaries in place, and boundaries, not borders, right? Boundaries, invitation as I would like you to treat me this way, and be able to communicate them in a loving and firm way, then you are not passive aggressive. You don't need to have that acquired narcissism to just shut the other person out or have a border around you. So to bring all of this together, to support each other's growth, I highly recommend that you look at yourself, look at the boundaries as invitations of how other people need to be around you and support you, and how can you show up for your own boundaries, support yourself and respect those boundaries yourself, and then to show other people how to show up for you. And the other one is the frame of mind that a lot of my couples feel guilty if one of them goes Costco shopping even without the other person, or if one of them, God forbid, if they go receive a massage, they feel like, oh my God, I left them alone. So these are the things that we need to really talk about it as a culture to make sure that we put our efforts where it matters to support each other's growth and mental and physical and social well-being.
Yes. The last chapters of the book talk about there's so many tools for how you can stay connected and your regular check-ins, right? So it's daily check-ins. Like, this is where I'm at. I'm feeling, and maybe this person is feeling like they don't have the space to be in that growth place. Their partner's not allowing it, or just not comfortable with it. So that has to be voiced, right?
Yes, absolutely.
In a loving way. And yeah,
Lo-
firm but loving. That's what you say. Firm but loving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when we are not loving, then we are passive aggressive. When we are not firm, then the other person doesn't really know if we mean it. So we're sending mixed messages. And it's the same thing I see with children. It's the same thing I see in leadership positions. It's the same thing I see in couples. It's the same thing.
Right. Wow. Yep. What role does vulnerability play in deepening our relationships, and how can we practice it safely?
I love that. So many different words to tease.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, let's differentiate between transparency and vulnerability. Vulnerability is another word that is tossed around like these days everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I really would like to invite people to think about what is transparency and what is vulnerability, and why do we need each, where, in which context. Transparency is, I have something on my chest, I'm going to share it. I'm not emotionally attached to it. I'm going to just put it out there because it's too much for me to burden, to bear.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay.
that's
Oh my gosh,
transparency.
that's a great definition of transparency. It's not just like spilling everything, like, but it's like, I can't carry this without. I really need to tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So put it out there. Vulnerability, on the other side of it, has a very specific intentional purpose in a relational space. There is a reason I'm choosing to share this with you and not the other person. So there's a stake. The stake is higher there, right? So vulnerability, as Brené Brown puts it well, not everybody deserves to be in that space with you. Like, one of the things that I see in dating couples is specifically is, as soon as they see each other, to show their good intention, they start pouring their whole thing out. Like, no, wait up. Let's get to know each other first. So,
right. It's too much. Like, we don't have the trust. We don't have we have to build a foundation before you share everything about your past.
Mhm.
And right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and sometimes, why are you even sharing that? So I use this
Mm.
analogy with my couples and I say, look, there's a difference between watering the garden and flooding the garden. And
Yeah.
then when I say that, they say, well, what is the point if I have to censor or filter my words or thoughts? And I'm sorry, your partner is not your dumpster. You can't just, come to the garden of the relationship and just flood it and say, survive. Why don't you survive? One of my clients that I brought in the book, actually, she told me, she said, look, he comes, dumps on me everything that is on his mind and everything. And then when I stink, he says, why are you stinking? Because I'm your
Mm.
dumpster. So it's so
Mm.
important. So when we talk
Wow.
about vulnerability, we should really go deeper to see what is it that we are mistaking it with. Talking nonstop, sharing everything nonstop, flooding the relationship is not vulnerability.
It sure isn't. That is a really great distinction. Love it. So tell us about the 6 ingredients, because your book is Love by Design and it's 6 ingredients to build a lifetime of love. So what are those, and
Sure,
how can they be applied in our relationships?
sure. So attraction. And by the way, these are the words that people hear everywhere, but if you bear with me, I'm just going to give my definition of them based on our research and also years of working with people around the world. Attraction is, why do you want to be around something or somebody? Basic definition. And attraction is not only sexual, is not only sexual chemistry, whatnot. Attraction is financial, is social, geographical, is you have the status of citizenship that I want. So we need to be honest about this. What is the point of attraction? Why are you attracted to this person? What is it that they are offering you, right? So attraction. The other one is respect. Respect, by definition, if you go to the root of the Latin word, is to see and to see again. How do I make sure that I'm aligned with your priorities and I get to know you and re-know you with your boundaries, with your priorities, and how you want to be treated. And within respect, I talk about the platinum and golden rule. Golden rule that many of us grew up with was treat um, others as you want to be treated. And platinum rule is treat others as they want to be treated. So paying really close attention to their priorities. The other one is trust. Trust, as I mentioned earlier, um, is consists of consistency and reliability. Don't buy me big giant bouquets of flowers and book me to this place and buy me diamonds and then 2 minutes later treat me like this.
Yeah.
Or when I share with you something in our private moment, tomorrow, why would your mother needs to know? So these are the signs of trust, because when we talk about trust in this culture, many people go to who slept with whom. It's not about that, right? As
No.
I mentioned earlier. So it's
You,
important.
you give an example, Dr. Sara, about in your book around this couple where he's really busy with whatever's going on in work, and he asks her to pay the mortgage, right, or the
Mhm.
rent,
Yes.
and she says, I got this,
Mhm.
right?
Oh my
And
God,
then
yeah.
he reminds her again, like, and she's like, oh yeah, I forgot, but I'll do it, right? So this went on. Next thing you know, they're getting like the enforcements are coming because the rent is overdue by 3 months.
Mhm.
And she kept saying, so that's a breach of trust, financial breach of trust, or and in many things that are into that go into that. But an example, right?
Yeah, big time. And unfortunately, that couple didn't make it
Yeah,
because that was too big for the guy. I mean,
it was
it
too
was,
much.
yeah,
Yep,
it was too much, and the stake was too high for him, for
right.
the police to show up at the door, and with all the complexities of the ethnicity and everything else that was going on. Yeah, absolutely. And then the other one is compassion, being there for the other person without making it about ourselves, as we talked about. Shared vision. Vision has multiple variations that I give different categories for people to go through: geographical, spiritual, physiological, all that, financial, that they talk about. And within shared vision, also, we need to know what we are committing to when we don't feel like it. So if we are lovey-dovey, just had a very good intimate moment with each other, of course, I'm committed to everything you say. But what if we're in the middle of a fight? What are you committed to there at that moment in time? What is the line you're not going to cross? What is the word
Yes.
that you're not going to utter to me, right?
Right. You know what I've heard, like I've had friends, or we all know this example where they get in a big fight and the next person's like, they're walking out the door. I'm out of here. Right. Or, I want a divorce,
Mm.
but it keeps happening. Like that person may not be like truly intending to follow through with asking for a divorce, but that right there, like, are you committed to not saying that to me anymore? Because like that is so like it's such a breach of, like, it's all of it, right?
Yeah. And since that's really important and actually common, may I just say something on that? Every time that we go there under the line, like we pull the rug from the other person's
Mm.
feet, it's like elastic band. The elastic band, no, one time, two time, 100
Gonna
time,
snap.
it's not, it is, yeah, it's gonna break.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's gonna break, and unfortunately, it's too late after that.
Yeah.
So the last but not least ingredient is the loving behavior. Tenderness, going out of your way, giving benefit of the doubt. Tenderness in word, in touch, in the way that you make the other person feel special every single day. That
Yeah.
is loving behavior. So these are the 6 ingredients.
Yeah. Giving the benefit of the doubt, I think, is a big one that people miss,
Mhm.
because it's like right away you're going to the, oh, he or she or they did that, like that's, you're just right away going like painting this negative picture. But if you frame it like, okay, I am going to always give my partner the benefit of the doubt, that is such an important one.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so important. At least give them a chance.
Yeah. Do you really believe that a loving relationship is for
Yes.
everyone?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a very simple, uh, well, it's a great answer because I think it's true. We all can have very loving relationships. So I've been dating someone for a few months now, and I think I might have found my person. He's
Mhm.
respectful. I trust him. We laugh together. We share a lot of interests. How do I know that he and I would feel the same in 10 years to come? So this is for somebody that's dating and they're like, he's checking all the boxes.
Mhm.
Like, how do I really know?
That's actually really interesting. So I invite you to do one exercise, maybe. Think about it, because in dating experiences, we are looking into create that experiences with one another. And based on those experiences, we think that we found our person. But I would like for you to think, is this also a person that you are going to build something with? So I want you to really think about that. And within the book, I give relational configurations that, like, different ways that people fit into each other's model of relationship. I don't know how much of it is clear here,
Mm-hmm.
but like you need to know as you are dating which one of these you like it resonates with you, and then discuss it with that person that you're dating and see what is it that they're looking for, because that will determine how you show up for each other in 5 years, 10 years, whatever time. That model, you need to know if the person that you're dating climbing this roof and you're climbing this roof, then eventually you're going to be like this. So you need to know where you're walking to. That would be my short
Yes.
answer.
Yeah. So but what you said is you want to like just really reflect on what is it that you want to build with this person.
Yes.
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 And that is so that is identifying the type of relationship that you each see
Yes.
having, shared vision,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. And
Like,
all of those
okay.
other ingredients, for
Yes.
example, I have people who come to me and say, my partner is so disrespectful. I can't really take it anymore. They have road rage, they have this, they have that. And I ask them a simple question, is this a new behavior? Majority of time they said, no, but it never affected me. So the behavior was there. We chose not to see it, and there's a scientific reason behind it because of the infatuation of the initial phases of relationship. We literally disable the judgment part of the brain, literally.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
that's why we don't see it, or if we see it, we really ignore it. But what I really recommend for people to do is to make sure that they are checking back with all of these 6 ingredients and see whether they are really in place. And yes, my dear ones, these are not negotiable. You need to have all of the 6.
You
So
have to have
it's
all 6
important,
ingredients.
all of them.
Yes. It doesn't have to be all the same proportions. We talked about that, but they all have to be there.
Exactly. Yes. Different phases requires different type of sprinkling. That's why I call them ingredients, because,
Yeah.
we need different portions. But they need to be there, and you need to check back to make sure that you are actually looking at the things that are going to make a difference in long run, rather than just the things that you think is going to make a difference. For example, oh my God, he's so hot. Yeah, lovely. But research shows within 2 years that hotness becomes a little lukewarm. Then what?
Yes. Yes. Wow. Oh, well, Dr. Sara, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to hold up your book so everybody can pick, you can identify the cover and hopefully listen to it and read it. I have both audio and I love it. I love doing both, listening as well as reading along.
Lovely.
This really is like a Bible for having, loving, nurturing, thriving, emerging relationships, emerging love models. So
Mhm.
Dr. Sara, thank you. And your website is
Thank you.
so you have 2 websites. You've got Dr. Sara
Yes.
Nasserzadeh, right?
Yes, yes,
And then you've
yes.
also got lovebydesignbook.com.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And if people want to access free resources, it's on that. Oh, also they can also join the newsletter, which is again free on Substack. It's called The Common Ground. And in
Common ground.
that, I share monthly extensive um, literacy and fluency tips for people
Yeah.
in any kind of
Well,
relationships.
fantastic. I thank you with all my heart for joining us today. And thank you
Thank
everybody
you so
for
much.
being with us. I hope you enjoy the
Thank
rest of
you.
your day.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, 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 bye.